Hi, and welcome back to My Life's Toil. I'm Neil. Thank you for watching. And to anyone who has subscribed to the channel, thank you so much. I've got a fantastic group of like minded people along with us at the moment that have subscribed and have been submitting some great comments and questions. I think I've managed to respond to as many as I can. If I have missed anybody, I really apologise, but feel free to give me a nudge or drop me a message. There's a Facebook group as well, and also on here. There's been quite a lot, and also I don't always get to see the replies. And I think that for some reason there's been a glitch. I don't know, but they've dropped off. Some people have commented on. I think some of my replies may have as well. So I apologise if you haven't got to see some of the replies. If you have any questions and I don't know the answers, I'll try and point you in the right direction or try to find out the answers. Also, I appreciate everybody's not in the UK. We have a lot of people literally all around the world, a lot in America, some in Australia as well. So guidelines may differ a little bit. But I will just point out, and I've said it before, that Mounjaro especially, which I am using and I've vlogged, is a prescribed medication. So the advice will always be to speak to a medical professional, clinician, doctor, GP, that knows you and that can advise you. So you are literally safe, because there are lots of guidelines around the use of tirzepatide, which is the main ingredient of Mounjaro. And the same goes for any advice on here. If you have any particular medical history, you must seek medical advice that's tailored specifically for you. But if I can give you some general guidance, that's what this is all about. It's about helping each other. As I say, we've got a lovely community where we have a lot of people helping each other. But if it's something that's more pressing, more tailored to particular medical history, the advice will always be to go and see your doctor. Today is Wednesday, so I am 5 weeks into my Mounjaro treatment plan. My start of week 6 is today. I started on a Wednesday and have kept it going like that. So it's my weight update day as well, which I will update you with shortly. So last week I stepped up from the 2.5 milligram doses to the 5 milligram doses, which I considered for a little while really, and I was torn as to whether I actually needed to step up. Had lots of people sort of swinging one way or the other. I did obviously step up if you look in my last video, and I'm here basically to see how the first week on 5 milligrams has been. So let's do sort of positives, negatives. It hasn't gone as I thought. Food suppression worked well. Weight loss has continued, and we'll get into that a bit later on. So I've been able to stick to a healthy plan with my eating. So that's obviously the positives. Any negatives? Yeah, actually there were a few. To be expected. We know what the risks are, and I'll put them up here for you. The severe side effects. I haven't had any severe side effects, but I'll keep always, when I mention the side effects, I'll always put them back on. So I've had nausea, and I mentioned this Saturday where it was quite strong. It hasn't been as strong, but certainly there, with feeling generally tired, fatigued. And I'm noticing the cold a lot more. It's springtime here. I know that it's not normally sunny over in the UK, as all my counterparts will agree, I'm sure. But it's not that cold out there. But if I go into the shade, I never feel the cold. And we'll go into why a bit later on. It's all to do with losing particular types of fat, and I'm going to discuss types of fat a bit later on. The food suppression has still worn off for me, and it was more of a struggle than when I was on the 2.5s. So it happened on days 5 and 6, so day before yesterday and yesterday. And on the 2.5s, it was on day 4, but then it improved on day 5 on the 2.5s. So on day 5, which was Sunday night, it was really strong. It came on late on the day. I managed to stick to plan and literally had a small packet of hula hoops, which is a fairly lightweight potato crisp that we have over here. And I thought I did well with that, really, because it filled a hole at the time, and it sort of got that thought out of my head, and everything was fine. Now, bear in mind, in recent weeks on the 2.5s, I've literally had to remind myself to eat. It hasn't been like that on the 5s. It's almost like I've dropped down in a way, although I've had stronger side effects. The food suppressant hasn't been as strong. So, and I do understand that my body will acclimatise to the Mounjaro, but it sort of took me by surprise, to be honest. And it sort of worries me a little bit, because if I'd have realised, everyone's different, it would have been the balance, I think, to stay on the 2.5s. This said, the following day wasn't too bad. Again, I did stick to the plan. So this is yesterday. I went back to my original plan, trying to eat the protein. I had been trying these protein packs, the Aldi ones. And they're nice, to be honest with you. And if that works for you, that's brilliant. But I went back to my meal replacement drinks, the Huels, in the morning for breakfast. Fruits and yogurt, sort of grazing for lunch, keeping a control of my calories, not rigidly, but using that app that I mentioned. And then on the night time, I had some salmon, jacket potato, and a load of veg. Again, I kept off a little bit of craving, sort of using a bit of willpower. But last night, and it really was quite a heavy sensation of needing to eat, like the old me from just over a month ago, 6 weeks ago. We've recently had Mother's Day here, and my wife had been given a bar of Cadbury's Dairy Milk by one of the kids. And Cadbury's is a bit of a nemesis of mine now, because it's the thing that would always break a diet for me. And this is going to sound awful, but people used to tease me with it. They knew I'd been on diets, and it used to break my diet. Anyway, moving on. I'll keep waffling. So there we are, sat in bed watching telly. I'm on the iPad. She's watching telly, Rachel, my wife, next to me. And she's got this box, double layer box of dairy milk on her lap. And she opens the top layer, and the smell of Cadbury's chocolate has never been so strong in all my life. And it just opened up all these memories, feelings, emotions. And it sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? My salivary glands were just kicking into gear, and you know where I'm going with this, don't you? So she offered me the box, and she held them up to me. She went, "Just one won't hurt." And she sort of up in the smell of the chocolate, and it's getting quite emotional. This is, isn't it? Yeah, a bloke's allowed to say this. Are we allowed to say that? But I didn't have one. I didn't actually have one. I was so close, and I've said it before, I'll say it again, I was absolutely, and people have mentioned, I've said this word, chuffed. That means really happy, really pleased, chuffed to bits. For me, to have a hunger for something and then to see chocolates, and this is where my diets have collapsed and I've come unstuck in the past. Who out there has been on the diet and there's just that one thing that breaks it? Things are going so well, then one day you give in to that temptation, and it's all gone out the window. It literally just opens the floodgates. And in our minds, we're like, might as well eat the fridge now. I've been there. I've been there so many times, and I know that people out there will be. You get to that stage, in your mind, one bit, you're saying, "Oh, just one won't hurt," and then you're like, "Oh, yeah, I'll have another one," and then you get to the stage where you're like, "Diet's gone now." We forget that the next day we can start again. Now, I didn't give in, but you know what? We've got to enjoy life still, haven't we? We've got to find things that we enjoy, and I'm on the lookout for things that can replace. Now, Slimming World was about this. Things that can replace. It's called optimizing with Slimming World. And I know it's not the same, but something that hole just gets filled with, if you know what I mean. So And so if you've got any ideas of that, send them to me, put them in the comments. If you're getting that hunger pang, I didn't have anything actually, by the way, last night. I didn't, it wasn't a case of, oh God, I really need some chocolate now. Didn't have anything. So I was really pleased. I was chuffed, as I say, that I didn't. But it could have been a diet record, couldn't it? Now the Mounjaro, obviously, there was some suppression in there. There must have been, but I didn't give in. Anyway, enough of the soppy stuff. Let's sum up the week before my little chat about fats. I wanted to talk a little bit about a particular type of fats, not just the fats that we eat, but the fats that we store. So apart from the nausea, I've not been sick, I've had no loose bowels, and I've actually been fairly regular without the need for the senna that I mentioned. Someone asked what I was taking for that. I haven't had to take anything for most of the week, and I've been fairly regular, which isn't too bad, which is another strange thing. I was expecting it to be worse. So it, like I say, it almost feels in some ways that I've not taken anything. Of course I have, and I'll be doing the jab again later today in this video. I've really varied what I've taken in. Lots of proteins, fibres, fruits, the things that we're supposed to be eating. Fluids, I've struggled a little bit with getting fluids in because I've just been that busy at work. Like I've taken 2-litre bottles of water in with me, and by the end of the day I've got through half of it, and then I'd push it through on the night time. So I'm getting about 2 litres a day with cups of tea and the odd coffee. I've cut my carbs right down, so very little breads. I think I've had beans on toast this week, a tiny bit of butter on the toast, but I've also had some mackerel on toast. You get, that tinned mackerel stuff, which I love actually. I love a bit of mackerel on toast. And obviously high protein as well. Lots of salady stuff. I do enjoy homemade salad, which I mentioned on the short, which I did promise I'd do some more shorts about the food, which I will do for you as well, for the people that like that. But getting on to, I wanted to talk and touch a little bit on fats, such as the visceral fat and the subcutaneous fat, and how we take fat into the body. Now, I'm not going to bore you, and this isn't a science lesson, but it's just sort of a little bit of basic knowledge, and most of this is from NHS England, so it is related to where I am. And guidance, as I say, might vary a little bit where you are. But talking about fat, so a small amount of fat is essential and an essential part of a healthy, balanced diet. Fat is a source of essential fatty acids which the body can't make itself. With saturated fats, the main impact that you can have on your body is cholesterol issues, high cholesterol. And cholesterol is a fatty substance that's mostly made by the body in the liver. So generally eating too much saturated fat, the stuff that we've probably been eating too much of, let's face it, can raise the bad LDL cholesterol in your blood, which can cause all sorts of risks: heart disease, strokes, kidney problems, diabetes, you name it. If anyone's got any of those things, they'll know why they've got it. I was getting there, my blood pressure's up, my cholesterol's up, as I've said, and we all put on a lot of weight. Metabolism tends to slow down as we get older as well, so we just store things. The liver will, if we're eating too much of something, we store a lot of it, and it's stored as fat. So any carbs, any sugars that we eat too much of, we store it as fat. So again, without getting too technical, the good HDL cholesterol has a positive effect on our body by helping take all cholesterol from parts of the body where there's too much of it to the liver, where again it's converted and then disposed of. So having a higher HDL, and this is something that your doctor will speak, if you have blood tests and those results indicate a high cholesterol issue, if it's the LDL, then they'll try and put you on statins if you're a certain risk. Over here in the UK, we've used those readings in conjunction with what's called a Q risk score, where it takes your BMI, your weight, and your age, and it gives you a risk over 10 years usually of what and it's quite daunting when you see your chances of having a cardiovascular event in the next 10 years are, and there's a percentage. If you're above 10%, they'll try and start you on a statin. Not everyone wants to take statins. I couldn't take them. They didn't agree with me. I didn't try a different one. Atorvastatin's usually the first one that's given, but I want to lose the weight. I want to feel better, look better, and this is what we're doing. So the guidelines on saturated fat, most people in the UK eat too much saturated fat. It's everywhere and it's cheap. It's cheaper than the healthy foods and it's in abundance and it attracts us, it draws us in. We get addicted to it. But the government, that still keeps it really cheap and the healthy stuff expensive, recommends that men shouldn't eat more than 30 grams of saturated fat in a day. Women shouldn't eat more than 20 grams in a day, and children even less, obviously. Those may vary around the world, but that's generally a good guide to go by. Then when we talk about how we store fat in our bodies, we have, like I say, generally two types of fat. One subcutaneous, where it'll be under the skin. That tends to be easier to get rid of and to work off and diet off, if you will. This is the fat that's just under the skin, and it's the stuff that tends to go first when we're on a diet, hence here, round here. People have noticed my face. Whereas here, this is what we call visceral fat. And visceral fat is a type of fat that is stored deep within basically the abdominal cavity, as well as being well underneath the skin. It surrounds vital organs such as the liver, the pancreas, the intestines, all the essential organs that we want to keep healthy to keep living a little bit longer. And if you have a look at this little picture I've done here, I've superimposed onto my first picture that I took. And bear in mind, I was a little bit bigger than this when I took this picture. This was day one when I started the Mounjaro. And I've superimposed all the yellow areas of visceral fat. You imagine what that's doing to my innards, suppressing like around the heart, the fat. It's not good. And this is why people get ill, and this is why we get heart disease. This is why we have diabetes. You imagine your pancreas being absolutely overwhelmed with all the fat around it and the fat in our body, in our blood going around. It sort of opens your eyes. It certainly opened my eyes when I put these slides together, to be honest with you. Of course, it's associated, as I say, with various major health risks: high blood pressure, diabetes, heart disease, and the C word, cancers. You're at risk. If you're obese, if you're not looking after yourself, you're more at risk of cancer. And that's a fact, unfortunately. That said, some visceral fat is actually necessary for organ protection, but excess amounts can lead to the inflammation and serious health complications, as we mentioned. We do need fat in our diet. There are good fats, and I'll come to them in a little while. To reduce visceral fat, though, it's recommended generally do what we're doing, move more. So limit sugar intake, exercise regularly where you can, and consume more fruits and veg. I mean, it's so easy, isn't it? Yeah, let's just sort it. We don't need any Mounjaro, do we? Let's just do what the government tells us to. It doesn't work like that, does it? Really? Sorry to be so flippant, but this is why we're all here. So getting on to the subcutaneous fats. So the top layer of your skin is the epidermis, and the middle layer is called the dermis, and subcutaneous fat is the deepest layer underneath the skin. And it has 5 main functions, such as it's one of the way that your body stores energy. It functions as a padding to protect muscles and bones from the impact of trauma, falls, anything like that. It serves as a passageway for some nerves and blood vessels between skin and the muscles. It also, this is what I was going to get onto about feeling cold, insulates your body, helping it regulate temperature. So if you're feeling cold after losing a bit of weight, it's because the first fat to go is subcutaneous fat. we're all sitting there shivering. Me wearing my blues blanket on that video I made. That's why. The last one, it attaches the dermis to the muscles and bones with its special connective tissue. So if you skip straight forward to my weigh-in, I don't blame you, but it's a good idea just to understand how fats work. So time for the weigh-in. Some people weigh daily. I did. I'm still on the Juniper app, and it encourages you to weigh every day, as I've mentioned before. But I'm not now. I'm doing it just on the Wednesdays when I do the catch-up videos and the measure videos on the Saturday. It's enough for me. Some people don't weigh at all, and they prefer to go by how they feel, how they look, and how the clothing fits, which each to their own. That's absolutely fine. It's good though to just still monitor with weight, to always get a starting weight, take measurements if you want to. I've been doing that only on my tummy and my thigh. But I'm going to show you the graph this week of how it's gone. So if you have a look at this is the graph from Juniper on the app, and it just plots this for you because I've got these scales that came with it. And it's not a bad little app, really. I haven't really used the support so much because I've got you guys helping with my support, and we share information, don't we? So, as you can see, started on 135.6 kilograms. Today, I weighed in at 121.5 kilograms, which is 14.1 kilograms lost, which it seems to have picked back up again. And I feel fine with that. I don't feel unwell, apart from the nausea in the morning. During the day, I'm fine. Do get a little bit tired, but do you know what? I expect that. I'm feeling cold as well at times. But as the summer comes in, I'll be fine. Taking my multivitamin still, and a couple of other supplements that people have suggested as well, like magnesium, that's supposed to help with your digestive system. I've just started taking just a small supplement of that, just on the magnesium. Guidance here is don't take more than 400 units of magnesium a day. So I'm just taking 2 just to top it up, because my digestive system is improving. So let me put that into stones and pounds for you. So 121.5 kilos is 268 pounds. So that's a loss since the start over the 5 weeks of 31 pounds. So I'm really chuffed with that. And in stones, 121.5 kilos is 19 stone, 2 pounds, a loss of 2 stones, 3 pounds. So I can't complain about the Mounjaro at all, really. It's where we are, it's why we're all here, and it's going really well for me. Yes, the side effects. Look out for the nasty side effects here. Please, if you've got any concerns, speak to somebody. If you're just having the general ones, share it on the group. We've got some really good ideas. Things like, let me just run through them. Nausea. If it gets really bad, just sipping at water. Just keep yourself hydrated. If you find that you're vomiting, can't keep anything down, and it goes on for days, you need to speak to a doctor. You might need some antiemetics. At least need checking out, because we need to keep ourselves hydrated with the Mounjaro. If you get dehydrated, it can have an impact on your kidneys, so something to really look out for. Constipation. First thing is plenty of water, increase the fibre, fruit, vegetables, orange juice, people have said, make sure it's the unsweetened. Then we can get over-the-counter things if needed, like your Sennas, and we can also speak to the doctor if it's getting really bad. If you're getting severe pain, severe problems, speak to someone straight away. Any severe pains where you're crippled up, get down to the hospital, get yourself checked out straight away. Now, I'm going to do the jab again. And I've done all my jabs on video, and I hope it's not boring the people that do it anyway. But I know that there's new people coming along, so I'll keep it going. You'll see it every time. I've always chaptered the videos if you want to skip through it, but this is coming towards the end of the video now, and I'll just go through exactly what we're doing. So keep your hands washed, bit of sanitizing gel for the hands as well. I have washed my hands before the video, but I've been a few minutes recording, so give it a good scrub. I have my Mounjaro. I've kept it in the fridge since last week. No particular reason. For those that don't know, you want to keep it, you can keep it in the fridge. If you haven't opened it yet and you're worried about when you can use it by, there's a date. You use it up until that date and don't go beyond that. But if it's opened, you have 30 days, whether it's in the fridge or not. Stored outside of the fridge, make sure it's below 30 degrees C. I know there's some lucky people. 30 degrees C is not very often in the UK, even in the middle of summer, but I know there's places around the world where 30 is quite normal. So you might want to keep it somewhere cool. So that is that. Then we also have, your supplier should give you them. Now, can you see what it says on there? Pre-injection wipe. As a paramedic years ago, this is what we used to put on the skin before we'd inject or cannulate somebody. Now, as somebody rightly pointed out, it's for cleaning the rubber seal on the pen. Now, I got criticised for cleaning the glass bit here, and they said, I don't see any point in doing that. That's how they sounded to me on the comment, but I won't go too far into it. So yes, you clean the little rubber seal in there where the needle goes. Absolutely no problem with cleaning that. And if you want to be clean and clean everything, you can't be too clean. Actually, you can be too clean, because if you clean your hands too much, you can get a rash. And the opening of the needle. As I've mentioned before, and I'll mention it again, this needle is absolutely fine as anything. So for people that's just starting out today, worried about injecting themselves, it's right to be worried. It's absolutely right. But I'm going to try and put your mind at rest now. If you're going to do this, it's easy peasy. And yes, I'm a paramedic. Yes, I've put great big needles in people's veins before and in their throats and chests and things. But this is the simplest thing you can do. Be brave. Think of how it's going to help you, hopefully, and it will be okay. So make sure it's all intact, not damaged. Seal. Remove that, and we see a tiny little fine needle in there that goes through the rubber seal. So we pop that on, push it on nice and firmly, screw it down, not too tight because we want it to seal, but we don't want to break it. And then this comes off, and we're going to keep this to one side because we're going to use that again. Okay. And then this covers the needle that's going to go into your tummy or your leg. So it's upper thigh, subcutaneous fat, tummy, subcutaneous fat, the fatty part of your arm here. Somebody else should do that, really. I do know people do it themselves. I'm just going by the guidance. So we come to the priming. So let's remove this. And I'm going to go as close as I possibly can for you. Have a look at that. It's probably blurred, but look how fine that is. Your hair on your head is probably equally as thick as that. So carefully, see this 0 here? See that long mark? Have a look in the chamber, in the vial there. Just have a look, hold it up to the light if you need to. Make sure there's absolutely no bubbles, but you're going to prime it and it's going to fill. There's the golden dose gone, and that's what it's for. And as I keep saying, so that's primed, that's ready to go. And then we're going to turn this to, now I know there's people that do less than one dose. That number 1 there, that doesn't mean anything but one dose, which is 0.6 mils of 5 milligrams, as this pen is. 5 milligrams of Mounjaro, 5 milligrams of tirzepatide in the Mounjaro. That's the active ingredient. And we're ready to go. So we're going to have a look at my tummy, which I will get out for you now. No comments, please. This is what we're working on. And we're going to go nice and square to the tummy. Let me come round on the side for you here so you can see everything that's happening. Shake off that bit of water, a bit of fluid that's on the needle. And we're going to go nice and gently, nice and relaxed. Just ease it in. And then if you can see that, you'll see the dial turning on the plunger as we put the 1 dose in. As I was saying earlier on, some people put less clicks in because, and this is against guidance, but not against guidance, but it's not as it's prescribed, but it works for them. And I'm not going to criticise anyone when it works for them, because I know medical professionals that do it that way. But obviously we can't say that that's what we're going to do for you. So, and then as we say, we wanted to keep that, unscrew that, pull it off nice and easy. That then goes in your sharp spots. Cap back on. I'll put it back in the box and can put that back in the fridge. So that's jab, second jab of 5 milligrams done. Start of week 6. I will be back on Saturday for the people that are following me, and it's great to have you along, as I say. I will do some more questions and answers. There's a few to cover actually for Saturday when I do the tummy and thigh measurements and further weight. Thank you for watching again today. Hope that was of use to some people. I know that it's a bit repetitive on the jabs, but there's new people coming all the time, and I think it just helps them. But like I say, any questions, we'll cover them on Saturday. But until then, have a great rest of the week and speak to you soon. Cheers now. Bye-bye.